Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gospel of Comics. I am your host, The Church of Failure, and with me always is the trusty co-host, Eric McCartney. How you doing today, buddy?
Cool beans.
Oh, God damn
I'm doing good. How about you?
Trying to get fired right at the start of the show? What the fuck?
I just wanted to see what you would say.
Also, with us right now, I don't know how for how long or whatnot until we run her off, I guess, but is Becky Nairn from the Dead Man's Tone podcast.
Hey, how are you?
Jesse may be jumping on later on if he ever battles off the gnomes. So this week,
I thought it was midgets.
It's the midgets, not gnomes.
Well, midgets is insensitive, guys. Please, vertically challenged.
Hey,
People make nuggets.
I qualify for that comment. I resemble that remark.
So, got a lot to kind of go over this week. It's been kind of a busy week for Ayrton and myself in the world of being a guest on shows. Why don't you talk to us about your time on the Dead Man's Tone podcast?
Yeah. So, for some reason, they asked me to come on and talk about my music and stuff a bit, and then somebody decided to come on and crash the show and show for like 20 minutes. It was a good time.
Who would do that? That just seems rude.
Yeah.
Actually, he was invited.
I was. It was actually a plot. They invited me on when I asked them. Like, I was giving them a hard time. I wasn't bothered or anything, but I was giving them a little bit of a hard time. I was like, "Oh, you're gonna invite the musician on, but not the host of the show." I see how it is. And they were like, "No, you got to come on and fire him on our show."
Mm-hmm.
So
but we won't tell you which one of us said that.
Oh, I could never imagine who would.
No. It sure wouldn't be the little old woman.
Oh, no, she can't make decisions on her own.
True.
Right. I'm a girl. Maybe girl.
Sure. Except the proper temperature to set the oven to when baking a cake.
I'm gonna kick your ass.
That's right. I'm gonna drop the link to that stream in the chat for anybody that wants to check it out. It was actually a pretty fun episode.
Yeah, it was fun.
But what did you guys talk about before I got there?
His music, and that he was a guitarist, and that he was a co-host for Gospel of Comics, and that he had a startup business that he was working on. So he's a busy guy.
I don't think we got that far. We might have.
Yes, we did. I mentioned it.
Oh, okay.
Did we? So you didn't have to. That's why the show's only a little over an hour and a half long, man. If you would have got him into terpenes. Remember that scene in Forrest Gump where they were talking about shrimp? It was like terpene kebab, terpene sandwich, terpene gumbo.
If they would have got me started on Led Zeppelin and why they're the greatest band in history, then it would have gone on for a long time.
SK knows how to use the mute button.
Sorry to hear that, Matt Christie. I hope your shoulder gets feeling better and you get back to work soon, buddy.
Oh no, you get hurt?
I think being an asshole is being the prerequisite to actually elevating to the point of being the boss. Ask Ayrton. I mean, technically, I don't even pay him, and I get to be an asshole to him.
True.
But
it's fun.
I don't get paid either, so, you know.
Well, I mean, 79% of nothing is still nothing.
That's right.
But I think, what was that, Friday night that you guys were on together?
Wednesday.
Okay. My days kind of run together this week. It's been a long week.
Well, yeah.
The
you
day
worked
after
5 million hours this week.
No, not quite 5 million. Just a bunch.
Well.
On Thursday, I guess the day after that show, I was on the Sweetcast with Clint and a couple of other guys, Eric and Vaughn, I believe, and we
Mhm.
talked about indie comics and how much people made per page in different industries in 2017 and all that good stuff. The link to that is now in the chat. We're also going to be talking about their Indiegogo campaigns individually. They all three have different ones, so we're going to look at those a little bit later on in the show, and you know, just encourage you guys to take a look at them. If you feel
Cool.
like you would be interested and you're able, you know, maybe back them. You know, but I just wanted to kind of use that as a way to thank those guys for having me on. It was a great show. It ran 3 hours, which I was not expecting. Probably because I
Wow.
wouldn't shut up. So the guys were nice enough not to call me on that though.
No.
So I can't complain too terribly. But
They didn't
anyway,
seem like they mind at all.
well, it was a fun show. I enjoyed it a lot. You know, those guys are all fun. Eric is a letterer. He's currently working on several projects, including Duncan Naples' Earthworm Jim, and another
Oh,
book called
cool.
Monsters MD that we're also going to be looking at tonight. So, but he's also doing his own project, reviving a property that he's been working on for a while now, and I just figured we'd go through those three books and talk about them and just see what everybody thought of those.
I like
But
Earthworm Jim.
everybody does. I mean, that's a hot property to have back. Excuse me. But we also have a good bit of news to get through this week before we get to our reviews at the end of the show. So, also, anybody watching, remember special Saturday show from Nick Ricada coming up at midnight. So we're gonna cap this show at 2 hours. We're gonna start with Ayrton's review to be fair, but we're doing Warlord of Mars Attacks is his book, and we also read Usagi Yojimbo #1 from IDW and not Dark Horse, which I was a little taken aback by when I saw it on the rack. I've only been keeping up with the heavy news in comics for a few months now since we started doing this show. I care more about the history of the books themselves than the drama that goes on behind the scenes. But you know, as we do this show now, we definitely need stuff to talk about. So,
Right.
And
what a segue that is.
Yeah. So, you know, that's not on the nose at all. But you know, we've seen that Angel has been licensed to Boom Studios, I believe, moving from Dark Horse with the Buffy properties, and Usagi Yojimbo has been moved to IDW, even though they're having financial issues right now, which kind of, you know, made me have a little bit of a think. Now this is an article from Newsarama, and it is from February. So, like I said, you'll forgive me for being a little bit behind on the times, but I guess I should set up a screen share for my cohorts here.
Yeah.
Alright. The screen share up.
So, since Disney bought all this, y'all think Dark Horse might be in a world of poop, huh?
Well, no, Disney only bought Marvel.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Eventually, Disney will purchase the entire world.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so this article, like I said, it's from February. I just kind of looked it up on a whim when I realized that this Usagi Yojimbo comic that I put together was coming from IDW instead of Dark Horse, so I wanted to look into that. And what I found, obviously, was there were a few articles, but this was the one that I wanted to go over with you guys. So, I guess I'll go ahead and start it off, but Stan Sakai's creator-owned series Usagi Yojimbo is jumping to IDW Publishing after 24 years with Dark Horse Comics. first reported in the New York Times, the character's IDW era will begin with a new ongoing series and collections of all previous stories. So they not only got the license to the character, but they got the license to all previous works.
Wow.
Which that's pretty big, right?
24 years
Yeah.
of comics.
Yeah.
I mean, we were going to start looking over Usagi Yojimbo, and I don't see that. Oh no. My smallest chapel has been giving us problems going to bed at a decent hour lately, so if you hear her squalling in the background, I promise she's okay. She's just pissed.
Aww.
Takes after her dad.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Nothing worse than a pissed off chapel.
No. I mean, she is the angriest one of all of us. But anyway, Usagi Yojimbo is mainly. Oh, what I was saying. We were going to look into doing that as kind of like an ongoing series for the shows since it's so episodic, but that's a lot of material to get through. And basically, we would have to cover Usagi Yojimbo once a week, probably for 2 or 3 years, just to get through most of it.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a huge story, and it's like a samurai epic, but I mean, he's also had crossovers with several other characters, including Ninja Turtles.
Huh.
Oh yeah, but it's a story that I picked up off and on over the course of time. I've never read it all, unfortunately. I'd like to, and that's why I'd like to eventually do some shows on it. But like I said, it'd have to be when we were doing a few more shows a little more often, or when we had some kind of organization, which obviously we have none of right now. We're working.
We got a bit.
We're working to get Ayrton off the rotary phone before we jump into something that engaging.
Yeah.
Oh, good God.
That'd be wise.
Usagi,
That and cool beans, huh?
I've given up on the cool beans fight. The people have spoken. If I'm ever belligerently drunk on stream, it's because Ayrton called me and said cool beans multiple times. Usagi Yojimbo is mainly fantasy and action and adventure, but there's a lot of teaching there too, Sakai told NYT. I draw from the history and the culture and folklore to make my stories. The new volume of Usagi Yojimbo will begin with a 3-part story involving Bunraku, I'm sure I butchered that, Japanese puppetry, and that's the issue that we're going to be going over this evening. There's a video that we're not going to play. The move from Dark Horse comes 11 months after Usagi Yojimbo was relaunched with a new #1 to encourage new readers to jump in and not be dissuaded by the series' high numbering. The previous volume ended at 165, which I think was volume 2 or 3. With the move to IDW, Usagi Yojimbo now shares a comic book home with Nickelodeon's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise, which Sakai's creator-owned character has crossed over with on numerous occasions in comic books, action figures, and animation. In February 2018, Gaumon Animation announced it was developing an Usagi Yojimbo animated series. And this comic obviously came out in June, so I think that's it. Yeah, that's it on that. We could look and see if there's any comments on this that explain any of it, but Dark Horse is losing everything. Star Wars went to Marvel because Marvel owns it. Conan went to Marvel. Buffy went to Boom, and now Usagi. I also think Predators and Aliens are leaving as well. Not to mention Mignola winding down Hellboy titles. I know it sucks. There's some background drama we don't know about. And that was my question as well. But again, they've been really silent on the issue. Nobody's really talking about this. So, yeah,
it's curious.
Right, like I'd like to see some of the larger channels pick this up. I'd like to see this on some more of a mainstream like radar. Oh, Cartoon, what's going on, my man? Good to see you. Cartoon's in the chat.
What's up, man?
But yeah, that's pretty much all there is in that article. But like I said, it pretty much touched on all the concerns that I had. But they don't mention anything about Dark Horse, and Dark Horse has always been one of the more prevalent creators, like one of the more prevalent independent publishers in comics. For a long time, they were part of the top four before IDW kind of took over that spot. But again, IDW really kind of shot its load with recent times, and it's having some financial issues that are very public. So I'm curious why we're not hearing anything about Dark Horse. I mean, I don't think they would just be getting rid of their
I wonder
most.
if it's.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm curious if Stan Sakai, how do you say that?
Stan Sakai.
Well, with it being a creator-owned series, I wonder if they just approached him with a really good deal to try and take the popularity of that character to kind of build up their publishing a little bit more, is kind of what I'm wondering.
I wouldn't doubt that, but what gets me is that, it's not just that. Like you said, we lost Conan and Star Wars to Marvel, which even after Marvel bought after Disney bought Marvel and Disney bought Star Wars, Dark Horse still had a small run of Star Wars comics to go through, and they finished that contract out before they switched over to publishing. So the fact that they just recently picked up Conan in Marvel Publishing, those books have only been coming out for a couple of months, which means they haven't had it very long. I'd say less than half a year. But like I said, looking back 4 months, and we're seeing talks of IDW giving up the series in whole, or getting the series in whole from Dark Horse, I don't really know what to think about that. Dark Horse, like I said, is given some of the best. What's that in the background?
I don't hear it.
Oh. Sounds like a radio or something. Anyway. But no.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. It's, I could just be going insane. Who knows? But, Hellboy, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Usagi Yojimbo, of course. Dark Horse has put out a lot of great titles over the years, and they've been the home for a lot of comic books that would have never been made otherwise. So to even contemplate them going under, I mean, IDW is kind of a fresh face. I mean, they've been around for a little while, and they've had some big names and whatnot, but in the grand scale of things, they're no Dark Horse. I'll just look that up on the fly here. Dark Horse Publishers.
What do you want to know about them? I've got the Wiki page up.
Oh, what were they? When were they? Oh, they were founded in 1986. I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna pull it up as well. We can just
by Mike Richardson in Milwaukee, Oregon.
That was back when people were named Milwaukee. How great is that? They were also
actually, it was Mike Richardson and he lived in
They were also responsible for Duckman. And I don't know if anybody remembers Duckman, but Duckman, guys.
Remember Howard the Duck?
Oh, man, that was...
What the hell is Duckman?
What? You don't remember Duckman? The little yellow duck guy that was basically...
No.
He was on right after the little short fat comedian show, and in the same time block as The Tick with late night adult cartoons in the mid-90s. Oh god! Click on the Duckman link under television. There'll be a picture of him and his whole duck family, including his two-headed son. Yeah, if you don't know Duckman, you got to pick up Duckman. Like, it's fantastic. But let's not get too. But he also let's not forget that the show we did back in, I don't know, what, about a month ago with Atomic Denny about Umbrella Academy, that was a Dark Horse title.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Has it really a month already?
Oh, dude, we've been doing this show for almost 3 months now.
Damn.
Yeah. Time flies when you're
Time
having fun,
flies
right?
when you're having fun and getting fired. And
That's,
getting fired.
that's right.
And
Now,
you have to find before I have to leave.
well, yeah, but I mean, we have a 2-hour show. You just have to keep me up when you have to leave. I'm not just going to arbitrarily fire the man. That would just be rude.
Well, why not?
Well, you know. Because if I can keep you both on edge, it's funnier. Now,
I mean, I'm just waiting for it at this point. It's not just kind of inevitable.
yeah. Next thing I
He
want
might
to look.
surprise you.
The next thing I want to look at is one thing that Becky was actually kind of interested in. So I know she doesn't know a whole lot about comics, but since we're on the topic
Nope, I'm learning though.
of properties changing hands and things being done with old properties and whatnot, a lot of people are very attached to the Dark Crystal property.
Mm-hmm.
It's a movie. My wife really enjoys it. I have never, ever seen it. We own it, but I have never
Really?
seen the Dark Crystal. I believe it's a Jim
I don't-
Henson
You
production.
need
I don't
to
think I have
watch it.
either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I believe it says right there in the title, the Jim Henson
Yes.
Company new
Yeah.
Netflix series. So yeah, it's a puppet thing, and I've always loved his work. He was
Mhm.
responsible for the original animatronics in the Ninja Turtles movies. So you know,
It's amazing.
if they can pull that off, they can pull anything off. But Boom Studios announces official tie-in comic book series to the new Netflix series, The Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance.
Wow.
There's some
That's
of
so
the
cool.
there's some of the initial promo art. I believe this will probably end up being a cover.
So
now-
it's going to be a series, not a movie again.
Right. It's going to be a Netflix series and a comic series, and I don't think they're going to be like parallel. Like they'll be parallel with one another, but they're not going to be telling the exact same parts of the story.
Right. Okay.
Boom
Cool.
Studio. Yeah. This.
So,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so Becky, that means you're gonna have to find a local comic book shop when these comics come out and start reading them.
Yeah,
No problems.
We'll expect a full review.
Don't worry.
Two pages, single spaced.
That's right. Front and back.
Don't make me cuss you.
Boom Studio announces today, and this was on June 21st. So what's that? Yesterday? Today's the 22nd. Yeah, that was yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yes.
Jim Henson, Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance, a new 12-issue comic book series, will be based on a story from the Netflix series, The Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance. Writers Jeffrey Addis and Will Matthews introducing the untold histories of key characters from the show and featuring explosive events tying into a highly anticipated Netflix series from the Jim Henson Company. So what it's looking like is this is going to be more of a tide over, like a get you through until the series starts.
Cool.
So that will be in stores in September, which makes sense. Usually your announcement and your previews come about 3 months early for those not like in tune with the current comic market. So, and that's a big problem actually. I'll get into it after we get through this article. So, let's just earmark that and move on. Into the world of wonder, danger, excitement when writer Nicole Endelfinger, that's a hell of a name, Adventure Time, and artist
Wow.
Matthias Basluck.
And she will finger.
Yeah. Sparrowhawk, as they uncover the epic story of the world of Thra in the time before the Age of Resistance. War and chaos reign over the once peaceful land of the Gefling. Everywhere must fight for survival of the clans against menacing forces. When a Gefling soldier sets off on a quest to retrieve the one item that can save their people, he changes the destinies of the inhabitants of Thra forever. The Dark Crystal is a groundbreaking 1982 film directed by Jim Henson and Frank Oz, featuring the never-before-seen puppetry in a fantasy adventure about a young Gelfling who embarks on a quest to save the world from the vicious Skekis. Who the fuck thought of these names? Like, literally.
I don't know, but it's really amazing. You've got to see that.
I
You've
will
got to
watch
watch
it.
it.
Yeah,
First.
I'll watch it. Like I said, I own it. I just, when do I have time to watch things? I still haven't watched the
I don't
hour and a half
know.
cut of Endgame, for Christ's sake. By restoring the lost shard of the broken Dark Crystal, a prequel television series, Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, will premiere on Netflix in August 30th, 2019. Nicole, oh, okay. Let's stop there and then just jive on that for a minute. So
You
this is
have to
supposed
watch the movie before you can watch the series.
well, this is apparently a prequel, so no, I don't.
I don't care. Yes, you do.
And technically, the comic books are a prequel to the show, from what I'm gathering,
right.
right?
So what I'm hearing is I
Too
need to read the
bad.
comic books, watch the show, and then watch the movie.
That's
No,
how
no,
I'm
no.
taking it.
No. No.
I
I mean,
mean,
chronologically, that just makes sense. We're not
Right.
George Lucasing this up now.
no, absolutely
Yes,
not.
we the hell are.
Who told you could make decisions?
I am
On-
a woman. Hear
on-
me roar. Meow.
Yeah, exactly. Go get your 79 cents somewhere else, okay?
Don't make me bite you.
You know what? I'm gonna take my my 21 cents off the top. You can just PayPal me that right now. Nicole Andelfinger is a comic book writer who has written for series such as Adventure Time, Regular Show, Rugrats, and Steven Universe. Okay, those
Rugrats,
titles,
oh
yeah,
God.
those titles do not instill confidence that she can
No,
adequately
no,
write
they
a
do
show
not.
that is designed to appeal to adults. Yes, The Dark Crystal came out
No.
and was probably close to being for kids or teenagers back in 1982. However, the only people who are going to be interested in this show are adults. And if you have a writer who has been writing for I mean, I guess Rugrats is probably going to be targeted towards adults who remember the show, but it's still a book about babies. Like, none of these titles instill confidence in me that this is a serious topic and a serious comic book. I would love to be surprised, Nicole. Do not let me down, or I will drag you across this entire show.
And I will help.
As well as the Munchkin series from Simon & Schuster based on the popular card game from Steve Jackson Games. Munchkin is a very fun game.
No, real quick.
Yeah.
You know, just idea moving forward. If she does let us down, we'll have to arrange another YouTube fight, but it will be her and Becky mud wrestling.
I mean, I caught that even though you're roboting.
Yeah,
Damn it.
I did too. Damn it. and mud.
I mean, would you rather it
Okay.
be Jello? Jello's
Hello?
sticky. It could be pudding. It looks like mud, but it tastes good.
Oh,
I mean, come on, Becky, you're Southern. You're not saying you've never mud wrestled before.
no, I have not.
Really?
But-
Like 7 shots of tequila at a country bar? You never got down in a mud wrestling pit?
No, I
Oh.
have not. But I mean, if you're gonna make me do that in something, I would prefer pudding.
Okay.
All right. Pudding.
At least it would taste decent.
Anyway, there's something extraordinarily universal about the theme of good versus evil that seems to speak to so many people from so many walks of life. It's why I think the Dark Crystal is such a strong legacy, even to this day, says the writer, Nicole Andelfinger. They're just going to write Andelfinger as many times as they can.
They want you to have to say it.
When I was offered the chance to play in that sandbox, exploring the faucets of conflict through the pivotal Age of Resistance characters, well, I couldn't say no. With Matthias Bassel's beautiful art, I'm sure you'll come to love and adore these new additions to the world just as we have. Matthias Matthias Basla is an artist, designer, and illustrator originally from Santa Fe, Argentina. Basla has worked as conceptual artist and character designer for different animation and video game studios, mixing his work in numerous comics projects. But mostly he was an artist for comic book series Sparrowhawk, written by Delilah S. Dawson, and published by Boom Studios. And then they've got a quote from him. The Dark Crystal universe is something that has always fascinated me, and it has a unique artistic design to its history. Having the opportunity to work on the Age of Resistance with such awesome characters and such a unique world is joy as an artist, said artist Matthias Basel. We know. This is the kind of project that one faces with so much love and respect. I'm happy to be an artist for this amazing series. Issue number 1 features the main cover by Mona Finden and a variant cover by artists Kelly and Nicole Matthews, R.L. Stein's Just Beyond. Hey, there's a name I haven't read in a while. It just kind of goes on to stroke itself off. Basically, it will be available in September. A lot of people are probably going to be excited about this. We're probably going to get a lot of hate from people who don't think it's going to be able to be pulled off well. I am willing to give Nicole Andelfinger the benefit of the doubt. And
yeah, we'll see.
Depending on the story, like you said, I'm going to have to watch the movie before these come out just so that I can compare quality. Because let's be completely honest before you get too dignified in your response now. Let's be real honest. The reason I'm going to have to watch this movie is not because I think the quality is so amazing and that this is going to be subpar. The reason I'm going to have to watch this movie is because there are so many bad movies that have cult followings.
Right.
And I don't know if this is one of them, not having seen it. It could be that it's so bad that it's good and people love it.
I don't think it is. I usually am not one for that kind of thing. But I really do like that one. I mean, it really was, it just amazed me that, it was all the way it was done and the storyline and whatever. I really was impressed with it.
Well, hopefully.
But that's just me.
Hopefully the prequel will add up. Now, I was going to go off on a rant. What was it about?
I don't know, but I've got to run because Big Daddy J is playing the game.
All right.
I have to go hang out in the chat.
Ayrton, you're fired. So
yay!
I will see you guys possibly later if you want to jump back on.
Okay.
We'll be going till about midnight.
I will.
Yeah, we'll be going till about midnight before Ricada jumps on.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. You're my hero, Church. Bye. Bye, Arton.
Bye.
Now, let's see here. Oh, yeah, the 3-month thing. That's what I was going to go on. So, let's just talk about this for a minute. If you get a catalog with a list of comic books in it, and you have to decide, oh goodness, of course, she was so quiet for a minute. Oh my god, I will be right.
She's channeling off your ranting energy.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Right. Yeah, if you got something you want to talk about,
you want me to start on one of these?
Mrs. Church to the rescue. She's very upset though. Yeah. Everybody's mad now.
All right.
Fantastic. So let's see here. What is next? All right, let's bring up DC closes under Vertigo. I think you can coast through this one real quick while I go check on everyone.
Yeah, I'll start on this one after it finishes loading.
Alright, there we go.
All right, there we go. So DC closes Vertigo, uniting under one brand. Following the rumor, DC Comics now announces and confirms they're closing Vertigo, and they also announce they're uniting everything to one brand. The official announcement below includes that DC Comics will now be organized under 3 age-specific levels. DC Kids will focus on readers age 8 to 12 and offer content created specifically for the middle grade reader. A little redundant. DC focuses on age 13 plus, will primarily be the current DC universe of characters, and DC Black Label will focus on content appropriate for readers 17 and older, which I'm assuming means the Bat Dick. Which, that was awful enough. Do we really need a whole categorized level for stuff like that? Do we really want to see Aquaman's Aqua Dick? Anyways. So it goes on the full press release. DC doubles down on its brand, unites all publishing under a single banner. Beginning in 2020, all content will be organized under 3 age-specific labels. We went over that. Vertigo Publishing imprint to be sunset at the end of the year. DC announced today that beginning in 2020. This is a very, very, very redundant article. Yada, yada, yada. 3 different levels that would absorb all of its existing imprints and focus DC's publishing content around characters and stories that evolve and mature, along with the awareness and sensibilities of DC's readers. As a result of this new labeling strategy, DC will sunset the Vertigo publishing imprint at the end of the year. So conceptually, that's actually a cool idea, having it done right. So let's say they bring out a new character, whoever man, in DC in 2020 when this is official, and so 8 to 12. So then over 5 to 7 years moves on to the DC quote unquote level and gets a little bit more mature in the concepts, and then once those core readers get to 17 plus, whatever man shows his penis. I mean, conceptually, it's not a bad idea and a bad way to keep readers engaged throughout their entire life, basically, if you hook them with original characters. So that is actually kind of interesting. The new segmentation featuring the new age rating system will launch in January 2020. Said that already. Books currently being published under the recently launched DC Zoom and DC Ink imprints, which are focused on the middle grade and young adult segments, respectively, will be assigned to the DC Kids and DC labels, depending on the content and intended audiences.
All right, sorry about that. I'm back.
All right.
So where'd you go? Where are you at?
I am at the paragraph, we're returning to a singular presentation of the DC brand.
Well, my thoughts on this were they mined all the good stuff out of Vertigo before it ever even, really had a chance to be modernized. John Constantine is one of their bigger titles in the old days. The Sandman, you haven't seen or heard from him in forever. Just a lot of the mystical stuff that used to take place in the DC universe was all a Vertigo title. And they moved all of that over to DC in Rebirth, or they just scrapped it. Like Swamp Thing was the main thing in Vertigo for the longest time. So, I don't understand what they were trying to accomplish, but by closing down this line, they've basically ended an era. And that era was probably one of the best that DC Comics ever had to deal with.
Yeah, well, one of the interesting things that I don't know, were you listening while you were gone or no?
No, I had two screaming children in my
Okay.
ear.
I didn't know if you, but the three different age labels, when start publishing a character in like the DC Kids, as those readers mature, move that character up through those different levels. So conceptually, it's kind of a cool idea. I just don't know if it's going to be done right.
Well,
It's the problem.
I don't know, but traditionally, the mainstream comic providers like Marvel, DC, and Image have done a very poor job on encapsulating the younger, newer audience.
Yeah. I was actually shocked when I was at the comic book store this week and saw like two younger kids, probably 10 to 12, drag their mother.
Well, it's not that the titles aren't available. It's just like I said, they're not profitable. It's so hard to sell a $4 book to a kid. It just
Yeah. No, I definitely hear you there. I mean, probably shouldn't shill Alterna again for a third episode in a row.
well, I mean, he does the best job of it, but
Yeah.
I mean, if DC's Black Label is any indication so far of what we're gonna get with what they've done with Batman, so I don't want it. I don't want to see Superman's dick and Green Lantern's dick and everybody else's
I
dick in my comics.
already made that comment.
Okay.
Except I used Aquaman
Well,
because
I don't know.
well, he's in the ocean he's in the cold ocean all the time, so it's
just
probably
shriveled up.
like yeah, turtle backing into the shell,
But we already know they're going to $1 comics. It just, to me, it feels like this entire situation is just too little, too late. But it announced today at the beginning of 2020 that all of its publishing content will be organized and marketed under the DC brand, creating age-specific labels: DC Kid, DC, and DC Black Label, that would absorb all of its existing imprints and focus DC's publishing content around characters and stories that evolve and mature along with the awareness and sensibilities of DC's readers.
I'm two paragraphs down from that.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we're returning to a singular presentation of the DC brand.
Well, then just keep going, man.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that you had been able to actually move past my screen. I didn't know.
Oh, I have the article open in a different window. Anyways, so that was present throughout most of our history until 1993, when we launched Vertigo to provide an outlet for edgier material. See, now I'm not as familiar with DC in general. Was that something that really grabbed you at the time when they did that?
Well, I mean, in 1993, I was not that old.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I was not old enough to be reading this stuff, but going back and reading stuff like Preacher and Hellblazer and stuff like that, yeah, I mean, it really was a step away from your Batman and your Superman stuff. So, it was kind of a caliber above, if you will. It was just, and they do make a point now that the edgier stuff is the mainstream all across genres, and that's a problem. Every Marvel comic I put on the shelf for several years has said teen plus on it for the most part. And a parent's not going to buy that. And I, as a employee of the shop at the time, I couldn't tell people, "Oh yeah, this will be fine for your kids," because I don't know. I would have to read every single title that came in every week to be able to give a halfway decent, review of it, and keep an eye out for things that normally I just look past. Like, if they use swear words, or if there were sexual innuendos, or if there were dramatic sequences. But
Right. Yeah. I mean, the articles seem to kind of repeat itself
yeah, well, that's just
quite a bit.
that's what all articles do. I mean, the first part of an article should tell you what it's going to say, then it should say it, and then the end of an article should tell you what it just said. But it just says that, it'll focus 8 to 12, 13 plus, and 17 and older. But again, I think it's too little too late. Like the dollar comics thing, or 8 to 12, 13 plus, like the show cat. I don't know if this is, I don't know if this is just, nationwide or not. I have a very small corner of the world that I live in. But there are successful comic shops around here, but they're mostly successful to adults and on back issues. New comics do not sell very well. Even the True Believers series, several Christmases in a row, I've tried to push the True Believers series on people. Well, you got $10 to spend on them. You can give them 10 different comic books. No, let me just get 3 packs of Pokemon cards, or 3 packs of Magic cards, or something like that. And what do? I don't know. It just,
well, that's why I said conceptually, it's not a bad idea. I agree with you. It might be too little, too late.
Right, and I think that
I like the concept behind it.
Well, back with the Comic Code Authority in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, the fact that they had to abide by that and, get comics on the stands, comics could never be too adult if they had that seal on them. So all you had to do was look for that seal. But say I have a 10-year-old kid. Is a teen plus comic okay for him if he's a little mature for his age? Or am I going to have to worry about some, having to explain the birds and the bees to my 10-year-old because of something that was said in a comic? And that's the thing. Everything's so fast and loose, you can't just look at a rating anymore and say, oh, well, this is fine. Like, obviously, with E for Everyone titles, you're usually okay, but again, it just doesn't feel like they're doing anything to encapsulate that new readership, because this is the only place you hear about it. There's no main advertisements going on. There's no big draw or anything like that. There's nothing. I don't know. It's infuriating, if you ask me, to be completely honest about it. The way that Marvel and DC and Diamond have basically sapped the life out of my hobby. It just makes me so mad to think about. Like, I'm fuming right now. But anyway, I think we get the gist of this. Basically, Vertigo is gone for now. Now, like with everything in comics, I don't think that this will be permanent. I don't think that Vertigo will be gone forever. They briefly tried to spin off Vertigo. I can't remember the name of that imprint. Young Animals, I believe it was.
Okay.
That didn't work. But again, the sales for comics are just so bad right now, and no one wants to really deal with the crap that comes with ordering stuff. And this ties back into my issue with there being a 3-month wait that I had to interrupt earlier. But there's a 3-month wait on looking at the new releases that you can order and actually getting them in your hands. Now, 3 months is a freaking eternity in the real world. And you have to think about all of the topical comics and stuff like that come out. Like, we've reviewed Trump Space Force on this channel. We've talked about comics like Psylords. There are just so many things that are just playing to a topic, to a hot topic, and in today's world, I mean, there's just so much going on that you can't even begin to keep up. Like, so you're thinking, okay, well, I'm creating a book, and then even if I can create an entire comic book in a day, which usually I'm guessing it takes about a month for everybody to get through all the ins and outs of creating a book, maybe more, maybe less. But let's just go with the baseline of about a month. So you have somebody write the book, script the book, draw the book, color the book, shade the book, do the cover, get it to the printer, and then it hits the publication. So you're a month out of your initial concept. Then you have 3 months where you're looking at it and you're going, okay, well, I'm going to order 10 copies of this new number one or 100 copies of this new number one, depending on the volume of your store. And by the time you get the damn thing in the store, well, you hope the topic is still hot and ready, but it may not be. And that's a broken system. Um, it doesn't work for writers and artists and anybody like that because if they have a concept of a book that will sell really well, there's no fast track to the market. And that's Diamond's doing. Like literally everything has to follow this whole 3 month saga, and it's ridiculous. Yes, you can change your order and you can lock in your order and all that good stuff beforehand, but what are you really doing? You're taking a chance. You're taking a 3 month gamble, and you're tying that money up 3 months ahead of time.
Yeah, no, I know because I.
What now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I know because of stuff, it's probably not going to be possible anytime soon. But could you imagine a comic series?
Oh man, the internet just does not want me to hear what you're saying. Can I imagine a comic series on what?
Written in the same way that South Park is written,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the week before it debuts.
Yeah. I mean, but that's what good. Like that's why webcomics and digital comics have such a draw now. And again, old school collectors are never gonna embrace digital comics, I don't think. And new school people are never really gonna be heavy collectors. Um, that market is just done. It's busted. Being a comic
Yeah.
collector is an endeavor that just no one really looks at as a profitable thing anymore. So I don't know. But a digital comic would give you the opportunity to publish the thing as soon as it was done.
Yeah. I don't know, just an interesting concept to think about. If you could do it, what would that look like?
It would look like a webcomic.
Yeah.
Simple answer.
But I mean,
it
if
would
you
look
could,
like a webcomic.
but actually like printed and on shelves.
Oh yeah, there's no way you could do that. It would take a miracle, and it would be so expensive for that rush order, just in the name of printing. Not even for the comic. Like you would have to, and I assume the quality would start to decline too, because you wouldn't have an opportunity to fully flesh out your ideas. I'm a cynic though, so what do you want?
Yeah.
So do we want to look at some reviews before we keep going through these articles? Do we want to look at Warlord of Mars Attacks?
See where yeah, we've got about an hour left.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just asking.
I don't know. I kind of want to hit those. Make sure we hit those Indiegogos.
Oh yeah,
before we run out of time.
Yeah, we should definitely do that first. So let's all right, give me a second here. So we should do that. All right. First and foremost, I was on the Sweetcast this Friday. I think I mentioned that earlier. And the host Clint is a nice guy. I think we switched realities 3 or 4 different times. His hat kept changing in the middle of the stream. I'm pretty sure at one point he was a woman. I'm not sure. Uh, it was late and had to go to bed, but we switched realities while we were on that show. That's how deep into comics this guy is. So he pulled the multiverse up over our eyes. That wasn't a jab, him being a woman that one time. Most of the time he wasn't even on camera. So, but this is Downcast, and the pitch sentence is blue collar teens use the power of gravity to fight against corrupt city for their father's life. So, just off the cuff, I have no idea what the hell's going on with that. So we'll scroll down and look at the overview. Joanne and her brother Jax are on the run from a corrupt government when the power to control gravity falls in their hands. With their father held captive and sentenced to death, can they use this legendary and incredibly powerful weapon to save him before it's too late? Downcast is a 52-page, full-color, square-bound graphic novel written by the author of All for Owen, Clint Stoker, with art by Ignacio Lazaro and letters by Eric Weathers. Printed 6x9 or limited 6x9 print by Chaz Walgamot. That's a hell of a name. Only 350 available. But it's a beautiful print. Look at that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's just gorgeous.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So it looks like he's got several tiers. You can get a signed copy of cover A for $15, signed copy of cover B for $20. You can get both for $25. You can get both and the print for $35, so that's not bad. You can do a retail package of 5 each. It looks like for $100, so $10 an issue, not bad. The collector's bundle is all sold out, but that was 2 signed copies of each, the PDF and the print. You could be drawn into the book for $100. He only had 7 of those, and they've all been claimed. Looks like a lot of his higher tier stuff is completely gone. Oh wow! Somebody got the somebody got the original cover for B and a signed copy, and they paid $1,000 for it. So
wow.
This campaign is at 28,000 and in demand, so go ahead and purchase it while you can before it runs out. This one is over. I think this is the only campaign that we're talking about that is over and in demand. So, I mean, it sounds extremely interesting, and it's something that I would like to read. I only am allowed to back one thing every now and again, so this will be one of the next ones I look at if it's still available. But let's move on to one that I have recently backed, shall we?
Alright, which one are we hitting?
It's going to be Monster MD.
Alright.
And this is probably my favorite of the 3. Not to be biased or anything, nothing against the other 2, but just the overall concept of it. Evil needs a checkup. Dr. Black and his invisible assistant Heidi, which I gotta say, I lost my shit. An invisible woman named Heidi.
Yep. Fantastic.
Have a misadventure in monster mending. So, Monster MD is 100+ pages, full color, return to wildly fun adventure comics with heart, soul, and hell, even a spleen. Don't ask why or how Don't ask why or how about the spleen. I got a guy. Surgical prodigy and underground monster doctor, Dr. Wyatt Black wants out of his dangerous job of monster mending, but when his invisible assistant Heidi is kidnapped by his nightmare, the monster-killing madman that took his arm and ruined his medical career, he must depend on his paranormal patience more than ever. So, you got monsters, you got crime, you got adventure, and you have an invisible woman named Heidi. And you have a zombie arm, as you
I-
can see in this this shot here. Look at
and
that
not
zombie arm.
just that, but some incredible looking art.
Oh yeah, yeah. Not even a question.
Who's And I do have to say, scrolling through the perks, that T-shirt's pretty awesome.
The T-shirt.
Yeah.
Well, oh, how about the lung smoking a cigarette? Is that not?
Yes, that is fantastic.
All right.
With glasses.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, everything about this looks fantastic. I'm probably gonna end up backing this one as well.
Now the phenomenal art of Marco McCagney from Zombie Tramp, which I have read to my chagrin. The art in Zombie Tramp is fantastic, but I don't. Zombie Tramp is exactly what you would think it is.
I'm sorry to interrupt. If you scroll down a bit farther, there's a pinup type drawing of Heidi, and it is fantastic.
Oh yeah, and the stockings and whatnot. Yeah,
Yeah, that is amazing.
yeah, 100%. But yeah, even the black and white line work looks great. Like, I want this coloring book. You know how they do comic books as coloring books?
Yeah, oh, that would be nice.
I want this as a coloring book, but the colors are also fantastic by Tanya Wicker. Again, if you like it, back it. He's got several tiers as well. You can get the signed comic and sketchbook for $50. For $18, you can get the digital deluxe of the sketchbook and the actual comic. You can get the signed comic for $25. And get that T-shirt for $25. You can do a signed comic and poster for $40. Which, now that I've seen that pinup of Heidi, I might change my contribution to.
I was kind of thinking about that one too.
Yeah. So you can get the full dose of everything. It's the sketchbook, the comic, the T-shirt, and the poster for $95. And you can do. Oh yeah, you can get it all and get your name in the book. $250. Nobody's claimed any of those yet. And oh, you get drawn and your name in the book for $500.
For the monster dose.
Yeah. So check that out. Back it. This guy has already broken his bones in the comic industry, so to speak, with Graveyard Shift 2. I believe the lettering is by the talented Mr. Eric Weathers again as well. And on that note, let's just take a look at his book. And that will be Flying Fortress Remastered. So, a B-17 crew on a mission to bomb Hitler is shot down and crash lands in a medieval world.
Which this one also sounds fantastic to me.
Yeah. This is the next one I'm gonna have to pick up. A top-tier B-17 crew goes on a mission to bomb Hitler. After sending him to a fiery death, they are shot down by an experimental aircraft, crash land in a world stuck in medieval times. Flying Fortress Remastered is a 200-plus page graphic novel featuring the entire story of 8 issues. This softcover book will be wrapped in a beautiful new cover with colors by Kyle Ritter, updated designs, lettering, art changes make this book a must-have. So,
Yeah, this.
so just looking at it, He has
All three of these look great.
yeah. And this is something I got into on the Sweetcast, and I'll say it again here. I see all the time from I guess you'd call it comics Twitter. Everybody's asking like, what kind of stories do you like? What kind of just what kind of stories do you really get into? And I don't really have a genre of stuff that I like. I like comic books. I like a good story. I like something that something that it feels like it was intentionally created, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not something that was churned out month after month because we have to get a Spider-Man book out this week. No. I want something that feels like the creators had to put their hearts and souls, blood, sweat, and tears into it, and that's what all three of these books represent. But before I get too far on, he's very close to this 12K stretch goal. 12K, all physical backers will get a print of the Waist Gunner, and just looking at that, it looks fantastic. All of the prints in this just look great. He added a new goal for 25. It was an 11 by 17 print grab bag that definitely includes Bombing Betty, and Bombing Betty is pretty fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Where are the pictures? There were pictures the last time I was here.
If you scroll down under the story section,
I don't think it loaded. I think it didn't load well. But we'll make do. Here's oh, I can't click it there. I have to click it here. There we go. There's the print of Bombing Betty that you'll get. It's obviously an 11 by 17 vertical print, but she's holding a bomb. It's nose art for the plane, and she's holding a bomb that just says "To Adolf with love." Now, in the book, I believe it says "To the Infinite Reich with love," but the print says "To Adolf with love," and I would love to have that. But there are several stretch goals. But being on the show with these guys, where am I at? Anyway. Featured perk, $50, and that is the remastered sign, 11 by 17 cover print, and a top secret 11 by 17 print. Then there's a grab bag for 25. The digital graphic novel is 30, and it may seem a little bit steep in that regard, but at the same time, it's going to keep people from putting it up for free, I think. And that's a big deal because these indie guys, they get gypped on digital piracy and whatnot. One thing that I can see happening is in the future, I think a lot of creators are going to be on the pay what you will model, and something like that worked really well for like a radio or just another. Any other band, Nine Inch Nails did it, but they released the album, and you could put $0 in, but anybody that respects the concept, I mean, I think I paid $100 for a Radiohead album once because they released it for free. People,
yeah, I remember when they did that.
Yeah,
and
I really loved the idea. I mean, the concept was beautiful. So. But I see that being where stuff like this goes in the future. But the signed book you can get for $35. So there's also the point there, like, why would you spend $30 on a digital when you can spend $5 more and get a signed copy of the real thing? So I think it's an incentive thing to buy the physical copy as well. But you can get 2 copies signed for $60. You can get a signed book and a head sketch for $75. Look at that. Look at that Nazi in a plague mask. Look at that. That's pretty good. That's the cover art, isn't it? I couldn't tell he was in a plague mask based
fantastic.
on the aspect, but yeah. You can get a signed book and an original pencil page for $150. Nobody's gotten any of those yet, so the whole book is still out there, guys. Well, the whole collection of art. You can get the inked pages for 300 with a signed book. One of those has been claimed. You can get the original print run cover art and the Flying Fortress remastered and the original issue for 400. The remastered cover art for 800, and Flying Fortress Unmastered is sold out, and Early Bird Flying Fortress is sold out. So, like I said, take a look at these guys. Flying Fortress, Monster MD, Downcast. Show them some love if you can. Pick a book that you like and back it. We'll be talking probably about at least one or two of these on the show. I know I've got Monster MD coming on the way. I'm going to try and get Flying Fortress before that runs out, and then I'll see if Downcast is still in demand, and I'll pick that up. But there is some amazing stuff coming out of these creators, guys, and this is what I wanted to get into. I told every one of them while I was on their show. One thing that, as a fan and as a reader, that I really respect about the CG movement and about the fact that independent creators are moving to Indiegogo platforms and stuff like that, and they're funding their books from fans. It makes it harder to get your hands on the books, I think, in the long run, and that's a problem that can definitely be addressed later on. But it also brings to the forefront creators that are truly passionate about what they're doing. It brings it brings to the forefront creators that love what they're working on, and that's something that is invaluable to the industry. I think that too many people, like I said, have gotten used to the drawl of, well, Spider-Man's got to be out every month, so we've got to have a Spider-Man book. So put whoever our best writer is on it, and we'll put it out. But what if that person doesn't want to be writing Spider-Man? Sure, it's a huge honor, but what are they bringing to Spider-Man that isn't already there? And that's why I think my argument the other day, well, the other month, I guess at this point, the other week, whatever, about retiring character continuity and removing legacy characters from the roster. I think that it's very important to just kind of have, I don't even know, to have a check and balance. Make sure that the person doing the job, make sure the person writing the story knows what the hell they're doing, first and foremost. And make sure that they are going to bring the life and love to these characters that deserve to be there.
Well, and not even that, have not even necessarily like know what they're doing and stuff, but people who are passionate and want to tell a story that's worth telling, not just some random crap they thought up off the top of their head because they needed to get it out this month because they were on a time crunch.
Right.
Like, let them tell the stories that they want to tell.
Well, it'll always work out better if they do it that way. But again, like I said, you have shit like Bibles with these main companies. I believe Marvel retired theirs. I believe someone in chat said something about that on the Sweetcast. But, up until a certain time frame, you had to follow certain codes to a standard as far as using a character. Certain things couldn't be changed. He wouldn't do certain things because they were out of character for him. Like, if they were still operating off of a Bible, then Sam Raimi never would have been able to make Spider-Man 3. Let's just put it like
that. Oh, that dancing scene.
But yeah, that was kind of my rant. But like I said, I think these guys and their work shows first and foremost what it means to be a creator and what it means to be working on a project that not only you love, but working on a project for people who love it. if we have time after we do our reviews, we'll look at one more article that'll definitely touch on that a little further. But we got about 45 minutes left in the show, so I think we should go ahead and jump into some reviews if I can get them to work correctly.
Let's fingers crossed.
Well, I am a boomer. I don't know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for 3 months and I can't figure it out. Sue me.
Hey, learning on the job.
Isn't that the motto? Like, doesn't everybody just lie on their resume all the time?
Well, of course, of course.
Are you qualified? Sure, I'm qualified. What do you think?
And I look to not die of starvation for vacations.
I agree with everything Eric just said.
Damn it.
Your microphone just doesn't want you to be heard.
Apparently.
Okay, we got to get you a real setup soon. Your rotary phone's just not cutting anymore.
Make it actually run well.
What now?
I said, can I mail you a laptop to like revamp or whatever and actually make?
No, but I'm sure there's a computer store in your town.
I don't think there is. I have to drive to find one.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe just get a Chromebook and we'll switch to Hangouts. Anyway, Ayrton, off of the back of Carson of Venus, Warlord of Mars last week. Ayrton picked the Warlord of Mars Attacks,
which I had to. I love that movie.
I was gonna say you're gonna have to kind of carry this review a little bit because I've never seen that movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, one of Natalie Portman's best.
Really? Definitely.
Which isn't
Star
saying
Wars.
much. Well, it's not saying much for her. She played a bratty teenage daughter of the president, so right up her alley.
I did understand the first half of what was happening. Like, I remember the look of these aliens, and obviously I'm somewhat familiar with John Carter of Mars.
Yeah, see, I'm not that familiar with John Carter, but
Oh well, they misspelled one of the references names in this book, and that pissed me off a little bit. But what are you gonna do?
Oh, did they?
Yeah, Pez Mogul or whatever his name is, the guy that was responsible for creating these things.
Oh,
his name is spelled Mogel, not Mogul. But it's a nitpick from somebody who probably hasn't read the story, being the one writing this. So. But anyway, there are 4 covers for this book. The first 2 we've already looked at there. There are the other 2.
Your screen share is still not working.
Well, that's because nothing likes you.
Apparently. Oh, there it goes.
So, those are the 4 covers for it. This one's got Deja Torres in the background. The Red Martians of Barsoom. So it was interesting to see these, these concepts come together. I wonder what the big push on John Carter is recently. I should have been looking into that, but I completely forgot about it. Maybe I don't know.
I thought it was kind of weird, but whatever.
So, go ahead and jump in whenever you want. I'll if you wanna pick out some pages to specifically highlight, let me know.
Yeah, I mean, really, the best ones are the spreads, in my opinion. But
Okay.
um,
Okay.
so on the inside cover, we have a short introduction, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Captain John Carter of Earth, a Civil War veteran who did not find his true calling until he reached Barsoom, what you call Mars.
Yeah.
There he would discover that his strength and agility were heightened, and he would win the hand of Princess Deja Thoris
Deja Thoris.
of Helium. Thank you.
Helium.
He is Warlord of Mars. Now, this is the best part. They're hideous, they're cruel, they have ray guns. And up until they have destroyed and conquered everything. Woe be unto your world when Mars attacks.
Yep. Yep. And
Which,
go ahead.
when I read that at the store, when I picked this up, I was like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be
Right.
so. We basically, these aliens don't actually talk. Not in the movies either. They make weird, high-pitched noises.
Well, apparently that's a
So-
form of Martian, so because it translates on these
Yes.
pages, they give you translations.
They do, which was great.
Now, when we open up
Because
into this,
in the movie,
go ahead.
well, in the movie, since you haven't seen it, the Area 51 or whatever tries to make a Martian translator, ends up translating things wrong.
Right.
So the aliens are walking around screaming in their language, and translator saying, "We come in peace. We don't intend to harm you," while they're killing everybody. So, yeah, it opens with John Carter
Well, it
basically talking to how do you say her name again?
Deja Thoris, but it actually opens up in the middle of a
Deja.
full-on attack of these little green fuckers on the entire race
Yeah.
of the Barsoom Martians.
Yes, and they call them the Moonheads.
Yeah, and it opens up and the attack's already going like full ape shit. And then you see John
They're
Carter
basically almost to the city.
Yeah, you're seeing John Carter just basically be a badass. He's jumping ship to ship and skewering fucking Martians, which is fantastic.
Which is great. Let me truly burn your minds. Then he stabs 3 of them through the head.
Yeah.
At once.
Right. But yeah, he's talking to.
How do you get better than that?
I mean, you don't. You really. I mean, Deadpool did it and it worked. So.
Wow.
But yeah, then he hijacks the saucer and lands it in amongst the the ally race on Barsoom, all the while having a mental discussion with Deja Thoris. But really, this is kind of inconsequential because he's fighting his way to the palace, and everybody's just saying that this is a lost cause, right? So
Right.
she's telling him, she's like, I was really hoping your mission would take you much longer than it has, because I'm about to blow this fucking planet up. About to fuck some shit up. And I didn't want you to be here.
If you look at but if you look at how she's dressed when you fight to the castle as well.
Well, I mean, you have no idea. This is tame for Deja Thoris, man. You don't understand. She reminds me of a Red Orion chick from Star Wars or Star Trek. I mean, this chick has been a honeypot for a while. Like, that was just a selling point back in the day because these were like pulp novels. They weren't like comic books. See, John Carter of Mars isn't a comic character per se. He's like an old fiction character.
Yeah.
But we'll pull that shot up, and then we'll pull the shot up that just kind of gives me a little bit of a big think, so to speak, because this is where I kind of fall out of it, and you pick up because, like I said, I know a lot about John Carter, but oh yeah, that explains it. So this is the scene that I was talking about that ends the story here, like the first part of the story.
Yeah.
Deja is just like, if you can go home, go. And then you see this explosion on the moon, which I'm assuming it's supposed to explain like the red spot on the moon or something. But I'm assuming that's the entire like civilization of Barsoom, like this little section of Mars just going to shit in a handbasket. And then we switch. We move to Earth.
Yeah, this was a bit jarring, not gonna lie.
I didn't expect this. Like, I expected the aliens to spend most of their time on Mars, but you got a little origin story, and then we switch over and find out that this is basically a precursor to the movie, I guess.
Maybe a little bit. None of the characters.
Okay, so
in
none of these
this
characters.
comic that I can recall. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but I don't really recall any of these characters anywhere in the movie, really.
Okay, well, I mean, basically, you move to a laboratory in California, and there's some guy there who's won a contest to watch the Mars. I don't know, some kind of probe land on Mars. And when it lands and they get
And he's a total jackass.
Oh, absolutely. But when it lands and they get visuals, they see the little green Martians with the big heads. And then almost immediately,
Apparently.
poor thing, Mrs. Church had there. She should be okay. But yeah, these Martians, they land. They walk up and they blast the probe, and then almost instantly, they're in the atmosphere. Like you switch over and the army's being deployed. And then it's essentially
they're destroying Las Vegas.
Yeah, they're destroying Las Vegas. They're destroying all kind of shit, and California, and the asshole in the beginning of this sequence is the one who picks everybody up in his car, and they begin to drive away, and you get the to be continued. So this is not just a one shot. This is going to be a couple of issues at least, and I don't know anything about this movie, but I want to read this because you find out that John Carter's on Mars and they're about to thaw, or John Carter's on Earth and they're about to thaw him out. So there's apparently a bit of a disconnect between when whatever happened on Mars happened and John Carter being on Earth.
Yeah.
So definitely a very interesting read. It was a lot more engaging.
Yeah, it was super strange.
Yeah, it was a lot more engaging, I think, than what I picked up with the Usagi Yojimbo, but I love that story, so it didn't make a lot of sense. But it was a lot more engaging.
Oh, it made no sense.
So while I go ahead and get Usagi queued up, what did you think about the book?
See, I thought it was fun. That second half was...
I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah, me either. I was... I thought it was very weird. If you do make this like a mini series, I'm kind of interested to see where they go with it.
Well, I mean, anytime you see "to be continued" at the end of a book, it's usually guaranteeing that it's going to be a miniseries. So.
Right. So I don't know.
I
It was
doubt.
a fun read. I actually we'll get into it, but I actually kind of like Usagi Yojimbo a little bit better.
Oh, I didn't say I didn't like it better. I just said that it was more engaging. This book, I feel like Usagi. I feel like kind of expects you to have a little bit of knowledge of the character. If you don't,
Yeah.
you're not, you're not left out. But it's just not as like as the first issue goes. It doesn't draw you in if you've never heard of this guy. And
Right.
I think
I mean, I've only really heard of him from us talking, but a samurai rabbit is right up my alley of ridiculousness.
Right.
Well,
This is not a ridiculous book. This is a very serious book. That's the funny thing.
It is. Well, conceptually, a samurai rabbit in concept is ridiculous, but it plays it in a very serious tone, and I like the juxtaposition of it.
Yeah. Let's give a shout out to the writer and author on that, and the publisher. I think it was Dynamite Publishing.
Yeah. So, yes, Dynamite Publishing. Let's see. Does it? So the writer is Jeff Parker. Artist is Dean Kotz.
Okay.
Colorist is Omi Remalenti.
All right.
Letterer is Hassan Asaman El Hayo.
All right. So again,
covers by. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, don't worry about it. This is out from Dynamite Comics this week. Check it out. I'm sure there's going to be a second printing on this, just because of the novelty of it. But yeah, try and get your hands on a copy of this book. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely something that if you just like ridiculous, weird comics, you're gonna like Warlord of Mars Attacks, because especially if you have any knowledge of John Carter of Mars or the Mars Attacks movie, the explanation for how the Martians came about, it ties back into the history of John Carter of Mars a long way back. So, like I said, there was a misspelling of one of those characters' names, and that's how you can tell how much of a boomer for this stuff I am. I remember when Deja Torres was supposed to be green. So, yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, this was like all pulp novels and whatnot, so it didn't really get into skin color. It was just an issue with Martian, and I believe she was drawn green a few times before it was established Barsoomians were red. Or that could have happened later on because of licensing. I'm not sure. That might be something interesting to dig into if we ever get into like Doc Samson. Doc Savage. You can see where I make that mistake, right?
Yeah, I can see it.
Doc Savage, the Man of Brass, or Bronze, or whatever golden colored metal. Yeah, Usagi Yojimbo, #1. Stan Sakai and colors by Tom Luth. Stan Sakai does just about everything for this book: writer, artist, and letterer. He doesn't color it, and he has an editor, Bobby Curnow. But this is the inaugural issue to IDW's run of Usagi Yojimbo, and apparently they're collecting the previous books and volumes and releasing those over the course of time. So if you missed out on the first run and don't want to pay an exorbitant amount for the Dark Horse volumes that you don't have because they're out of print, now would be your time to start looking for Usagi Yojimbo collections. Talk to your local comic store, tell them you might want to order them. More than likely they will get them in and put your name on them until you can come pick them up. So, a little shout out there. This is a good way to get into a very long running, very well respected comic book. So, we open up this issue, and Usagi. Well, first off, we open up in a story about a demon slayer. Now, the art is very pronounced in this comic. Very bright, very vivid. Sometimes a little disjointed, but it always pretty much conveys what you want, like what you want to understand. Bunraku Part 1, which is Japanese puppetry Part 1, and this cat is basically slaying minor demons and eventually runs across the major demon and sticks his knife in his gut, and then for some reason fighting drains his life force or something. I'm not sure. But he defeats the major demon, and I like the way that they depict defeated enemies in this book. But his name is revealed as Sasuke. I'm not sure if he'd been brought up before in Usagi Yojimbo. I don't remember him, but he very well may have. But you see what I'm talking
Can I
about?
just say real quick? God damn, I have a hard time with the Japanese words.
You what?
I said I had a hard time with these Japanese words and names.
Oh yeah, Sasuke.
Yeah.
Lord Shokai. Are you listening to the stream in the background? Is that why I hear myself?
No.
I hear an echo. Why am I
Huh.
still hearing an
I
echo?
don't hear anything echoing.
Do I not have this? No, I've got mine muted. I blame you.
Huh.
What about your mic? Is your
What
mic
the
coming
hell?
through okay? Like, do you have headphones in?
It seems to be plugged in all the way. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
Weird.
I'm just getting some feedback.
Everything hates you.
Well, I blame you.
I know, but I was trying to turn it around.
How about the fact that when somebody is like defeated and dead, their speech bubble is just a little skull?
Oh yeah, there were tons of things about the art in this that was just fantastic.
Right.
It's dynamic and it really drew me into it.
He defeats the major demon and he's joined by the spirit. And the spirit, I believe is Shokai. Yeah, Lord Shokai. And he tells him that, he essentially gives him the Robert Frost speech. The promises to keep and miles to go before you sleep kind of thing. And, sullen and downtrodden, he walks off because he realizes that, while he wants to just lay down and go to sleep right there beside the corpse of a demon, he has shit to do, and he goes on to do it. And then we cut to the puppet show. Now, Usagi is in attendance of the puppet show, and as I don't want to show a whole bunch of pages, I'm gonna touch on this and then kind of float through. But he comments on the amount of artistry and just the amount of time and energy it takes to put on these shows, especially because there are like 3 to 4 people controlling each of these large puppets. He compliments one of the puppet operators who's been doing it for over a decade and was promoted from working the feet to the left hand of a puppet instead of the top roll, which is apparently the right hand and head of the puppet. So that just kind of gives you an idea of how seriously they take these things. The puppeteers are so well refined that they have to choreograph everything based on a narrator, and it's an entire process. But the thing is Usagi makes note, and he says, I would stay, but I'm gonna have to leave at this intermission, um, because usually these plays go on for an entire day. So can you imagine that, like going to a puppet show that lasted 8, 10, 12 hours?
Uh, that sounds exhausting.
But again, in Japan, this is like going to the movies, and especially
Right.
in feudal Japan when you had samurai. Um, so he gets up to leave, and he compliments one of the puppet operators, and the puppet operator invites him back for tea. Um, and there's just this overwhelming sense of something odd going on or something weird happening, because you're approached by the master of the troupe, and he is an old blind man who does the narration. So he can't see anything that's going on. So all of these puppeteers have to basically work off of his cues. And then, as soon as he leaves, Usagi is approached by someone who has been in the comics before. I remember seeing. But this being a number one, there are several little notes at the bottom of these issues that talk about. First off, they do translations. One of the translations here is what is it? Come on. The Negois or Niños.
Careful.
No, there's no R in it. I should be fine. But dolls or puppets. I mean, there's small translations. There's also references to book 26 and 27 of Usagi Yojimbo, which these books are basically like trade volumes. And you run into to Sasuke, the the guy that was fighting the demon warriors, and
Yes.
he runs into town and runs into to Usagi, and he's like, I've been sent here because there's something evil going on. And then you basically zoom in and you see the puppets on display, and then one of them opens their eyes, and you get the to be continued. So we know this is only going to be a 3-part series. It's definitely worth looking into if you like Usagi Yojimbo, or if this is your first encounter with him. There's not a lot of callbacks that are necessary. There are callbacks, and this is something we talked about the last time we talked about comics. I think was that when we talked about the back issues, is that they reference previous issues to try and get you interested in going back and reading them, not so much as saying that they're required reading.
Right, because that was one thing. Because I've never read Usagi before, and I didn't really feel lost. Like, I assume there was some sort of I assume there was references and callbacks to previous issues in there, but it felt approachable and cohesive enough that it wasn't like, oh shit, am I going to be totally lost when I'm reading this?
Well, that's why
It was
that's why I didn't look over Go Power Rangers Forever this week, because it really is the climax of like a 20-something issue series.
yeah, and I almost looked at that one too.
So, but yeah, like I said, for a 3-issue series, 33 pages for $4.99. You're getting 11 extra pages for your buck. I mean, I still think that's too much for a comic, but at the same time, you're getting 11 extra pages. there's a lot of like asides and just, I mean, it's a visually stunning book, and it's
Oh
not,
yeah.
one thing I can say about Usagi Yojimbo, unless it's the violence aspect, there's never anything in here that I feel like would be inappropriate for a kid outside of like the violence.
And even then, the violence isn't like over the top.
No, um, I mean it's implied and stuff like that, but it's no more violent than like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon or something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in all honesty, it was a fantastic show, or the fantastic episode issue. Jesus Christ!
I
I'm
was
not
going to see
even.
how many more words you would say before you got to issue.
Yeah, I'm not even tired. Like I don't know what the deal is. I'm not even tired. I'm not drunk. What the hell? But
Maybe that's the issue.
yeah, fuck. Anyway, no, it's a fantastic issue. I think it's going to be a good three-parter. You know, one thing that I worry about when titles change publishers is the quality of the work. But with the creator moving over as well, I don't think there's going to be a problem. So hopefully, hopefully there's not an issue of that. I don't think this has ever been a an ongoing like steady monthly comic because it's a one creator gig. I think that occasionally you do have waits in between, so I'm interested to see how that'll work out. And it kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier. I'm worried about Dark Horse, and to see all of these titles moving along, for this one to land at IDW in the face of the financial issues that they've been having, it's kind of weird to think about. Like why would you jump onto this ship if I get to be around the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but what if IDW goes under, the Turtles will just get bought by somebody else.
Right.
So
That's very I'd be curious.
what? You are roboting like hell, dude. I don't know what the deal is.
Should I just make a stupid joke? Will I not robot if I do that?
Yeah, you probably won't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I do have a quick story.
Okay.
So, I dated this German chick for a while back in college, and she used to, anytime we had sex, she used to rate it 1 through 10, right, on how good I did.
You always got
Well,
nines, right?
No, the first time we tried anal, she was shouting 9 over and over. It was the best ratings I ever got.
Yeah. I saw that one coming. But yeah, you didn't robot a single time through that entire thing. I mean, you didn't robot a single time through getting me demonetized. But you try and make an actual valid point to contribute to the fucking show, and I can't hear a goddamn thing you're saying. Like, Jesus Christ.
So for tomorrow, I'm just going to write a script of just bad jokes to say the entire time. That's all I'm going to do.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if anybody wants to co-host a show with me tomorrow, just DM me on Twitter at Church Failure. The link is down in the description below. Ayrton will be there too, but nobody will be able to hear him. I'm just gonna single him out on the channel and just mute all of his audio.
Hey, now.
He'll still be here in spirit. I'll unmute him long enough to fire him. It'll be great.
I'll just sit here for 2 hours drinking beers, and you'll just, an hour and a half in, just fire me.
Right. And they'll be like, oh, wait, I'm on? Nope, not anymore. But no, so you enjoyed it, right? What was your statement that you were trying to make before your terrible joke?
I don't even remember now.
Must have not been that important.
Yeah.
No, Usagi is a very legendary tale, and being a creator-owned, creator-drawn, creator-written, you know, one-man show, there's never really a dip in quality, and that's one thing that I like about it. My son even has one of my old Usagi Yojimbo action figures. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah, they came out around the same time as some of the Ninja Turtle figures did. But
We'll see. And this kind of goes back to what we discussed on that episode with Denny. Is if, like, let's say he decides to stop wanting to write this or passes away eventually
yeah,
or some point, nobody should pick this up. Leave it.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Do not try and continue it. Leave it.
Right. Well,
leave it alone.
Well, I mean, I'd agree with that in the sense of, to a certain degree, but at the same time, like, if he had, and I hate using this term, but it does apply here, but if he had been, training someone or grooming someone, quote unquote, to pick up where he left off and showing them how to draw in his style and how to write in his style, and he knew they held the same values that he did and would responsibly carry the story, then that'd be one thing. But yeah, if this is a like, I don't think he should ever come off of this property. I don't think he should ever sign the rights to let someone carry this story on in his stead without being the one who chooses who it is. That makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
But yeah, this was a fun story.
It looks like we're both. It looks like we're both interested in reading the rest of both of these books.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Hopefully, they still have a copy left when this week. I can grab a hard copy of it. But I'm interested to read more of the back issues, but that 24-year history.
I mean, we definitely can. Like I said. Now we've got about 6 minutes before Ricada comes on. That's not enough to do anything else, but I can definitely save these few topics that we have, and we can bring them over to tomorrow. It's just 3,
Yeah.
So we can switch those over to tomorrow. But as always, it was very enjoyable. I greatly enjoyed it. We've got 6 minutes. You think we can get through? Nah, because the outro is like 2 or 3 minutes long. I don't know. I don't know. I'm ambitious. I don't want to cut into Racket's time, and he's been early.
Right.
He's been early all week. So everybody, tune in to Nick Ricada. He's got a special Canadian lawyer guest on tonight, so it should be fun. We've had 3 Ricada streams in the past 2 days, so I'm in hog heaven. He was gone all of last week, and I kind of went into DTs. So it's the only thing I listened to at work, and it was the worst week of work that I've had in forever, and I blame him for it.
There you go.
Not having Ricada stream to listen to, it was the worst week of work I've had.
You should hop in the chat and say that.
Oh no, I think I should commission him to sue himself. I want you, Nick Ricada the lawyer, to bring lawsuit against Nick Ricada the entertainer for leaving me stranded without streams for a week. I want you to sue yourself.
That would be fantastic to watch.
I want you to sue yourself for tortoise interference. But anyway, thanks everybody for coming out and supporting us yet again. I appreciate all of you. I think that was the I think that was the joke, Matt Christie. But yeah,
and tune in tomorrow for the beginning of our special project and more of my bad jokes.
Yeah, tomorrow is going to be a shit show. I can go ahead and promise you. But
Yes, it is.
I'm going to force Eric to get on and do pre-show planning with me before 10 minutes before the show. But special thanks to Matt Christie and Cartoon and Becky for jumping in I definitely appreciate it. So, thank you guys. Like and share. Let everybody know. And come see us again tomorrow night. Ayrton, you got anything to say on the parting words?
That's about it.
All right. Well, thank you again for another great show. And I will go ahead and play us out with Read More, the GQ remix from Dr. Pete's Beats. So, have a great one, guys, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
Good night, everybody.
How much responsibility do you feel that you have, particularly guys the alt-right, who, as you say, some of them have enjoyed your work and say,
No,
I'm not one of you guys. I'm not with you guys.
They haven't enjoyed my work.
I've definitely read bits on the internet.
Read more. Read more. Read more.
You've sold 2 million copies of 12 Rules for Life. You have 800,000 followers on Twitter, 1.4 million followers on YouTube. What is it that you're selling that so many people want to buy?
I don't think I'm selling anything. Selling anything. I don't think I'm selling anything. Selling anything. Selling anything. I don't think I'm selling anything. Selling anything.
So people are willing to pay a lot of money to see you speak. You know, what is it that you think that people are hungry for? They want to hear from you.
They're hungry for a discussion of the relationship between responsibility and meaning, responsibility and meaning, responsibility and meaning, the relationship between meaning. We haven't had that discussion in our culture for 50 years. 50 years. We've concentrated on rights and privileges and freedom.